The thing is, because you've got, like, I've got some people, like acquaintances I know from years ago, with stuff they've been at, everybody viewpoint, but I haven't got access to a whole load of people I wouldn't know what tests.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, no, all these people, I don't believe it's happened. There's people, more the death rate's higher than it's been in God knows how many years. So there's something going on. Something's happening, whether it might, I don't know, I've got no.
Right then. There we go. So we actually are live. Fiddly dee.
Especially when I'm moving, like if we're carrying furniture.
Right then. Okay. So I've managed to connect after various bits of juggling around. Okay, so pandemic burnout, what does it look like? What it looks like is inertia. And so I had a student who dropped into the Thursday session, which we're running in the park at the moment. And she's quite stressed a lot of the time. She's quite anxious. And she said that what she's doing is she's doing one thing a week to get her out of the house, because otherwise the temptation is to not leave home. And these are not scary things, they're enjoyable things, like coming to meditate in the park in the sunshine, to which you're all cordially invited on those sunny days that happen to be Thursdays at 11 a.m. at the park. I actually meditated under the big oak tree, you know, the one just outside the mansion. That was really nice. It was actually amazing, this ancient oak. And that's probably a really good, well, it is definitely a really good strategy to adopt, because there's two sets of effects that the pandemic's had. One is it's actually, I think I might have mentioned this before, it's the recipe for trauma is something fearful, a sense of helplessness, and uncertainty. And so you add those three things together, and that's the recipe for trauma. And the other thing that's happening is separation from other people. So your emotional brain operates in a different way to how you would ideally like it to behave. Ideally, you'd like it to make rational choices, and you'd like those rational choices to be net benefit choices, so that, you know, you look in the modern world and you think, right, I'm doing those things that benefit me and my loved ones the most. But what we actually do is there are drives, is probably the best way to describe them. And our choices and our actions are at the intersection of those various different drives. Underlying everything is instinctual drives. So these are like basic fundamental, what you see animals do. Then on top of that, the next thing that's most obvious is habit. It's hugely ignored and underestimated, except when it gets out of hand. So let's say somebody has an addiction, then there'll be focus on habit. But actually, everything's habit. Everything that we repeat becomes habitual. And it changes in its quality. There's a name for that, and it's called habituation. So what happens is that, let's say you find something uncomfortable in some way, and then you do it more and more and more regularly. This is through a thing called exposure therapy. You're exposed to the thing that you find difficult, and you do it more and more, and eventually you become comfortable with it. And this is like basically the core of what meditation practice is. Meditation practice is becoming familiar with the mind, and then the end result of that is you become comfortable with the mind. So this applies to everything. So let's say, but one of the things that happens to this is that this habituation, this exposure to something that helps you to overcome your fears, that can be, I think the word they use is extinguished. So you can, for instance, let's say you're somebody that finds high spaces frightening, but your job includes that. And I know, because I've been through this, I didn't suffer from a significant amount of fear, but I found it very uncomfortable being up at the top of a ladder and so on and so forth. After about 6 months in this job, I was swinging around like a monkey and walking along parapet walls. That's not a good idea, by the way, right? It really isn't. And there's also an element of bravado with the other people that I worked with. And one of them was a steeplejack, and he had the injuries to prove it. So then what happened is I stopped doing that. And so what's happened is I've gone back to being very, very cautious about being anywhere that I could fall off of. Very cautious indeed. And so you can apply that to everything in life. So a lot of my students have come along to the meditation and mindfulness training because of their stress and anxiety, worry, whatever it happens to be. And they've made great advances in their lives, and this is part of their toolkit. And those advances are to be able to go out and interact with people in ways that they wouldn't previously have been able to do that. And that's everything from actually getting out of the house to, at the other end, confronting really difficult people in really difficult, critical, life-critical interactions for yourself. You know, the ability to confront a boss who's a bully, or a partner or a neighbour or whoever it happens to be, and gain a better outcome through that interaction. So this is both ends of the spectrum. And we've had 16 months of regression of that, simply because the activity of going out and meeting people and interacting with people is diminished. And so we lose some of the comfort that we have in doing the things that at one point we found difficult. So what we've got to do is go through it all again. But, and here's the thing that's different, this is the absolute evidence that these practices and these skills build resilience, is because now you have a set of tools that you've used in the past and you know how they've worked for you. I strongly suggest, if you're discovering that you've become too risk averse, I mean, there's a balance in all these things, but if you've become too risk averse and you believe that it is negatively affecting your life and you'd like to get back the same balance of this is difficult putting how to put this, the same balance of your ability to confront difficult situations that you had before the lockdown. If you want to get back there, what you need is not a mechanism, don't find a crutch, whether that's meditation or anything else, but develop a strategy. List the things that have helped you to build your comfort doing difficult things. Sit down and write them down and monitor your progress on them, but only by looking back. So like, let's say, for example, the things that got you out of the house, the things that got you speaking to other people was you were a member of a club, or you would go walking, or you would you do yoga, or you do meditation, or you contribute in a charity or something like that. Find your way back into that and measure your progress in it. Or could be study, could be connecting with women. This is a big thing that we've learned now, connecting with family. Don't let that drift away. That's the, and friends, and people that were the unexpected people in your life during lockdown. You've got them, and then you want to find your way back into all of your social connections that you had previously. Because we don't want this to have an abiding effect on our well-being. We want to actually grow as a result of it. So if you think about this, let's say, yoga and meditation was your thing pre-lockdown. You will have found certain things during lockdown that helped you. You now have those three things. But if you keep hanging on to the lockdown things, which are likely to not be very connective, and you're finding it difficult to get back to the other mechanisms in your strategy for well-being and growth, go back to them and do it as a strategy. Write it down. I am going to do this. I am going to do that. I'm going to go to this club. I'm going to meet these people on this date. Have a strategy for when the pandemic restrictions are over and you're able to reconnect fully. Because otherwise, if that drifts along, then it becomes more of a habit. And that you're then driven by this habit of not doing things, of avoiding things. And that isn't helpful. It's not helpful for your happiness. Because happiness is literally only about one thing, and that's fulfillment from your interactions with others and with nature. That's what you need to get. And how you get it, you can get it, get it in our meditation classes. You can get it by being, interacting with your family. If you get that, you might not get it from your family. And if you're not getting fulfillment from interactions with other people, look for it. And also interactions with nature. Vis-a-vis my big oak tree experience on Thursday. Yeah. and even better, interact with nature, with others. So this is something that became big during the pandemic that we need to hang on to. So there's a skill, and that skill is going to the park, going and sitting in the grass, which I think, because it's sunny and there's actually a couple of nice parks here, we might go and do that after the meditation class. How's that sound? There you go. Right then. Okay, so I'm glad you made it over to this broadcast, Vicky and Matt and Caroline and Kel and Judith. Right, meditations. And the bell. And the portal into the present moment and the experience of awareness of the present moment. There's a Japanese practice they call forest bathing, where you go into the forest and you allow the experience of the forest into your awareness. So you're connecting to the forest. And we can do this with sound. We could call it sound bathing. Of course, if you go to a sound bath, generally there's bowls or gongs, and they create an immersive experience. And of course, you can immerse yourself in the sound of the bell. But you can also immerse yourself in all sound. And immersing yourself in all sound, the hubbub of sound, which we're fortunate to experience here, and which we can experience somewhere like the park, and sometimes at home. Is a gentle relaxation into sound. We're allowing ourselves to be aware of sound and noticing its progress through time. And one of the things you'll notice is that the mind picks up on a sound, and then it will use that sound as a springboard into mind wandering. because we're modern humans, and that's what our habit has become. And so what we're doing is developing another habit, which is mindfulness. It's the habit of noticing that the mind has drifted away into a narrative, a little story, and then coming back to notice the progress of time in the present moment. So it's another habit that we're building. It's the habit of noticing that the mind's wandered, and gently, patiently, compassionately returning our attention to the experience of the present moment, in this case, whatever sound there is. So there are a number of sounds that actually sound very, very similar. There's rain, wind, water, running water, stream, waves, traffic, air conditioning, passing airplanes, there's actually very, very little difference between those sounds. They're shushing sounds, and what they are is what's known as kind of white noise. Many, many different sounds all collected together. And the volume rises and falls. And we notice it passing through time. And we can also connect to the breath or the body. And this is all about experiencing how it feels to be here now. So continually returning to the present moment and the breath is the single most powerful practice in meditation. And in life. It's a habit we learn so that we unlearn the other habit that we've learned. And the habit that we've learned without thinking about it, without choosing it, is the habit of the mind wandering. Because it's not something we do, it's something that happens to us. So by becoming present, mind wandering becomes something we do. It becomes an active choice. I choose to allow my mind to wander or continue wandering. But without being present, it's not choice. So this is a gentle process in the same way that the sound that we're noticing, the passage of sound, the hubbub, is a gentle passage of sound through our awareness. We're gently, patiently, compassionately allowing the pull of the present moment to draw us into it. We're just noticing sound and the breath, the mind doing what the mind does. Sometimes our attention will be drawn away, other times we'll notice it happening. And then we allow ourselves to be drawn back into noticing the breath, noticing sound, noticing the sensation of sitting, the heartbeat, what we can smell and taste. But right at the centre of it is the breath. Just noticing the passage of sound through time and noticing the rising and falling of the breath. So the purpose of the narrative, the chatter, the mind wandering, it's there to provide us with the practice that we need. So if your mind wanders, the narrative draws you away, there's chattering in the mind, it's good. Because that enables us to practice awareness of it and returning back to the breath. And you let your mind choose where you notice the breath. Could be the belly, could be the nostrils, wherever. So noticing the breath in the nostrils, what we want to do is do something that we tend to do more when we're noticing the breath in the belly, which is to notice the entire breath from beginning to end. So as we breathe in, we're noticing the progress of the in-breath through time. And as we breathe out, noticing the progress of the out-breath through time. So it's like listening to the bell, noticing the progress of the bell through time. Sound that just for a moment. Just one ring, and then you can noticing the in-breath as it moves through time, noticing the out-breath as it moves through time. Now as you breathe in, bring all your senses and all your attention to the in-breath in the left nostril. And then all of your senses and all of your attention to the out-breath in the right nostril. And this can help if behind your closed eyelids you look at the relevant nostril. So breathing in, looking down at the bottom of the nostril, and then as you breathe in, looking up, noticing the sensation move up inside your left nostril, the cool air. Then as you breathe out, noticing the sensation begin at the top of the right nostril, up by the eyes, and then your eyes are scanning down, following the breath out of the right nostril. Left nostril, eyes start at the bottom, move up. Right nostril, looking to the right, start at the eyes move down. Now you can just move the eyes from one side to the other as you breathe in and breathe out. And breathing in, eyes looking down and to the left. Immersing yourself in the sensation of noticing the in-breath moving through time. And then eyes look down to the right. You're immersing yourself in the sensation of the out-breath moving through time. And then letting go of that practice. And just noticing the breath rising and falling, gently and slowly moving through time. And then noticing the body. If you put your elbows by your side, head balanced comfortably on top of the spine, feet flat on the floor, tongue against the back of the top teeth, noticing whatever tension there is in the body. And letting it go on the out breath. And as you do that, you can just say in your mind, releasing. So wherever the tension is, could be the eyes, jaw, face, shoulders, hands, wherever. Gently breathing out, repeating in the mind, releasing. And if the thoughts are powerful, or there's uncomfortable emotions, same practice on the out breath, releasing. Releasing. And noting the coolness and the warmth of the nostrils, the cycle. The rising and falling of the breath. What you can smell, the sensation of sitting what you can taste, and the sound of the bell moving through time. And whenever you're ready, in your very, very own time, gently return your attention to your surroundings. So that will have brought most of you to a sleepy place towards the end, right? and then hopefully gently enough back out of it. So that's the key practice, following the breath, and it's the key practice in life as well. So when you encounter difficult people, difficult situations, that's the thing to do. Everything else comes after that. Get back to here now, get back to noticing the breath. And then the other thing, of course, is that as you notice the breath, everything will arise in the experience of noticing the breath. So whatever unsatisfactoriness there is in your life. And the best way to look at it is it's like a washing machine, you know. And each time we sit down and meditate, we're getting the grubby clothes of the modern world, putting them in the washing machine. Cycle, 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 and then out they come out, and then they get dirty again. But you know, we get better at operating the washing machine. We might even be able to understand all of the cycles, all of the sophisticated methods of doing the washing, which, you know, come in an incomprehensible manual and a useless interface. And so this is like, you know, this is what we're doing. We're doing technical, psychological, physiological washing machine training. Cycle, rinse, wash, repeat, rinse, wash, repeat. And so that is both within the meditation, and it's also the practice that we learn in the meditation that we take out, because we're learning to unlearn the practice of our mind being taken by the narrative, both when we're sitting quietly and also when we're having a difficult encounter or there's stuff going on in our life. Okay, so that's it for today. Thanks to everybody who joined us online and everybody who came in today. And we're back here. There are no plans for Saturdays off in July. The dates that there are no classes is the 6th, 7th and 8th of July. That's a Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday. So the Saturdays will be here, the Sundays will be here throughout the entire month, just those dates off. I also sent out an email this morning. If you didn't get it, and you usually get it, let me know, because I'm using a different email supplier. I've gone back to the original one, which is a fraction of the cost, and has actually caught up with the people that I moved to. So they had bells and whistles. And now the original email provider, MailChimp, has caught up with the other one that I was spending far too much money with. So I'm migrating back to them, and you'll notice the emails might be slightly different, look slightly different. Okay. Right. And Laura says, will this stay online? Yes. Yes, it will. What I do with the classes is that I put them in the meditation course playlist. So everybody who's a member of the meditation course gets to see it. Every so often I kill it if it's a complete failure. And yep, thanks Judith, have a great weekend. Have a great weekend, Laura and Judith and Kel and Carol and Vicky and everybody. Take care. Okay.